Hi everybody, I'm Leah of CJ Drill, and today I'm going to show you how to lay floor tile. Now here's the thing, I'm going to start with how to lay out the tile. That's the most important step. And well, why is that? Because if you don't lay that first tile correctly, it will throw off the entire job. We don't want that. Here's the thing, every tile job is a custom job. You may be working in an enormous space, or you may be working in a very tiny space. You may be working in an odd-shaped room. You may be laying tile in two rooms at the same time because they adjoin. And that's why every job is a custom job and there's no set recipe. So let's get started. Let me show you the tools you're going to need. You're going to need paper and pen, because not to scare you, there's a little bit of math involved. You're going to need a tape measure. This is called a chalk box, and we're going to use this tool to strike our line. And I'm going to show you how this works later. And you're going to need a framing square. Let's get started. We're working with a small space, but for demonstration purposes, I want to show you how you would lay out for a larger space. So this diagram is a diagram showing a room that's 8 feet 9 inches by 16 feet 6 inches. So what you want to do is you want to find center and strike a line lengthwise. Find center, strike a line widthwise. And this is your starting point right here. You're going to lay your first tile right here. Okay, so what we have here is an entryway that we're going to tile. So let's measure the width of the area. And the width of the area is exactly 45 inches. So now we're going to take the measurement for the length of the area. And, okay, it's running about 78. So this is where the math comes in. We know that the width is 45 inches, and we know that the length is 78 inches. Well, our tile, the tile that we're going to be laying, is 12 inches by 12 inches. So what we want to do is we want to divide 12 into 45. And we get 3 feet 9 inches. 3 feet 9 inches. Then we take a look at the length, and it's 78 inches. And again, our tile is 12 inches by 12 inches. So 12 into 78 goes 6 times. So we have 6 feet with 6 inches left over. So we know in this corner where the wall is 3 feet by 9 inches, this first corner tile is only going to be 4.5 inches wide. Because on the opposite side, we have a tile that's 4.5 inches wide, because 4.5 and 4.5 make 9. Now let's look at the length. The length is, we've got 6 feet 6 inches, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So we've got 3 inches. That's a little small. That might be a little tiny to cut. 4.5 inches, you can go there. 3, it's a little small. So what do? What we do is we borrow a foot from the 6. We're going to make this 5, and we're going to add 12 inches to the 6 inches, and that's going to give us what? 18. 18 inches divided by 2 is 9 inches. Now we have 9 inches to play with. And what do we want? We want this tile right here to be 4.5 inches by 9 inches. And down here, we want this tile here to be 4.5 inches by 9 inches. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3 tile with 4.5 inches at the end. Then we come down here and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tile with 9 inches at each end. So if we struck our lines in the center as we did with the previous diagram, you wouldn't be able to use 3, full tile across. You would only be able to use 2. Now, what else you would have is you would use 2 full tile across, and then you'd have a tile over here on this side that would be 10 inches, 10 inches. Then you get over here and you'd have little tiny tiles that would be like 4.5 inches and 4.5 inches on this side. And so when you looked at the room, it would seem unbalanced. So this is our center tile. That's the first tile that we want to lay. Now, how do I know that? Well, I'm going to put my finger here. This is our center tile. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3. Well, it's 3 that way. 1, 2, 3. It's 3 that way. 1, 2, and 1, 2. So we know this is the center tile. Now we need to strike a line so we can lay the center tile. So how do we strike that chalk line? This is going to be our chalk line here. Okay? How do we arrive there? Well, we know that this is a full tile. That's 12 inches across. And this here, that's 4.5 inches. You'll remember that from the math that I just showed you. So 4.5 plus 12 is 16 and 1/2. So we're going to make a mark right here, 16 and 1/2. And we're going to make another mark in the opposing wall at 16 and 1/2. And we're going to strike our line. Now we need to determine where the second chalk line goes. And that's going to be this line right here. That's going to be our second chalk line. Well, what is that? Well, this tile here is 12 inches. This tile is 12 inches. And this tile right here is 9 inches. So we're going to add 12, 12, and 9. And that comes to 33 inches. So we're going to mark 33 here, and on the opposing wall, 33 inches. And we're going to strike our lines. And that's going to give us intersecting lines that will give us our starting point. Now I'm going to show you how we achieve the same on the space we are tiling. Okay, so I'm going to do my width line. And I'm resting the tape measure against the wall here, and I'm going to go width. So my first mark is going to be 16 and 1/2 inches. I'm going to make my mark right there at the 16 and 1/2 inch line. Okay, so I've marked the opposing wall with the 16 and 1/2 inches. Now it's time to run our chalk line. We're going to do it with this chalk box here. There's a string here, and it's covered in chalk, blue chalk. So what we're going to do is, it takes 2 people to run a chalk line. One end of the string goes on one mark, and the other end of the string will go on the other mark, and then we'll snap the line. Let me show you how that's done. Okay, so we've got our chalk line. I'm placing it on the mark. Now you want it to be very tight before you snap the line. Now I'm going to snap it. That's a good chalk line. So now we're making our second mark. And this mark is made running the length of the area you're tiling. So our second mark is at the 33-inch line, which is right here. I'm going to make my mark at 33. And now I'm going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to mark 33 as well. Okay, now we're going to strike that second line. I'm going to set it on our mark, which is right there. And you want to pull it very taut before you snap it. It's very tight. Now it's time to snap. There we go. That's good. Now we're going to make certain that it's square, and we're going to use a framing square to do so. I'm going to put it there on our marks. Just see that it's area square. Okay, so we've got it lined up, and it's on the money. And this is how you lay out the first tile on a floor. So today you learned how to calculate where to place that first tile, which is the most important tile. This is Leah saying, you can do this. See you next time.